Okay, so the Tea Party is hoping to put the heat back on its pot come November. The aspiration of Tea Party leaders have been bolstered by the victory of Richard Murdoch, who ousted longtime incumbent Richard Lugar in last week's Indiana Senate primary. Joining me now is David Drucker, Associate Politics Editor for Roll Call. David, it's great to see you today. And Richard Murdoch's victory in Indiana, let's talk more about that, because what kind of message is this sending to Tea Party leaders and where they can go from there?
Well, I think it definitely excited the movement, at least the movement in D.C. And for Tea Party leaders in D.C., whether it's a Senator Jim DeMint or organizations like the Club for Growth or Freedom Works, they're hoping to recreate the magic of 2010 when you had a number of really solid Tea Party candidates rise up in a sense out of nowhere, and they're now in the United States Senate and many are in the House. I think one thing we need to understand with Indiana is that Dick Lugar ran an awful race. So Richard Murdoch isn't a bad candidate. He should get the edge when we think about who's going to win that general election, at least at this point. But Dick Lugar was seen as out of touch, and it really wasn't necessarily the Tea Party winning this race alone as much as it was also Dick Lugar losing it.
But let's talk more about the Tea Party. As you said, there was a lot of excitement after 2010. It had a wind at its back, so to speak, the Tea Party, but it's lost that head of steam in such a short period of time. Why?
Well, I don't know that they've really lost their head of steam per se. I think it's just a matter of where a maturing activist movement goes after having so much success. When everything's new and fresh, you can't go wrong because the expectations are set very low. There are a number of solid Tea Party affiliated lawmakers in Congress now where there weren't before, and I think the question is, are the candidates out there in 2012 for them to add to their roster? On the Senate side, at least so far, we haven't seen the same strength of candidate. Now, that could change. We need to see what happens in Texas with Ted Cruz, who has a lot of Tea Party support in Washington. We need to see what happens in Wisconsin, where you have a number of Tea Party affiliated groups and members supporting Mark Newman. But it's just sort of a different electoral landscape where the focus is on the presidential race and not the congressional race. But I think a lot of the energy is still there at the grassroots. It's a matter of whether you can have as good a candidate as you had in 2010 run for office and show up in Washington next year.
We shall see. David Drucker. David, great to see you today. I appreciate it.
Anytime, Thomas. Thank you.
All right, we're going to be right back with Senator Bernie Sanders after this. Stick